Hi, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Power of Knowing Forums. Join the C-Suite Talks, a LinkedIn live event, episode 192. Today, we are discussing on the topic of 2025 Skill Stack Blueprint How to Build a Winning Career. To have this topic discussed, we have the honor of having Mamatha Lakshmikanth, a mentor, a coach, and a speaker. Without further ado, let's welcome our esteemed speaker to the podcast event. Hi, Mamta. Welcome to our
Hi,
show.
good evening, and
How?
thank you so much for such a wonderful opportunity.
Thank you, Mamta. Thank you for joining us. Uh, Diving into the topic, skills is one thing that is very important, Mamta. Today's date, skills matter a lot. With a right skill and right attitude, I think we can look at great combination. What is the single underrated skill professional should add to their stack today as a skill, Mamta?
Yeah, I really thank you for bringing in such a wonderful opportunity to talk about learning the beginning of the year and how do people can skill their stack the skills so that they can plan their learning. That's something very amazing. To answer the question, the most underrated skill professionals normally would really miss is the adaptability. Adaptability is something very powerful, but somehow we miss it. For example, we need to be adaptable to the swift changes that's been happening and uncertainty at the workplace. And also, we need to collaborate across teams which are diverse in culture, work nature, and their goals and ambitions, and the methods in which people work. So, I would say adaptability is what is very much underrated. And if we are going to take up something like technical aspect, I would say emerging digital tools. For example, AI powered platforms and automation tools are again being underrated. They're not being used to the maximum.
Okay. So AI should be the skill that they should add, is what you're saying. AI has been there for a very long time, and the adoption rate has been different in different sections, right? AI has
Yeah.
been looking at automation. AI has been there, looked at
Mm,
cybersecurity. AI is talking about image making, content creation, and everything. Can you
mm.
share a moment when one unexpected skill completely changed your career trajectory?
That's a very interesting question, Prem. But especially, when I go back and look at the journey, probably I have taken something which really brought in that I would say a springboard kind of change in personal as well as on the, especially on the career front. Number one, I would say personal branding. Personal branding should be backed with knowledge, hard work, experience, and performance. When we use all this four together and then use to properly brand our product, services, ideas, the kind of work what we do would definitely give a very big edge for us to perform and then have the market in understanding. The another one added to this would be the data analytics communication. So how do we analyze data and then use the data in decision making? Probably that's something what is called as a data driven decision making, which we require for personal branding again. So I would go with personal branding really brought in a huge change for me.
How can someone identify a missing piece in their set for career acceleration? See, what I think from a standpoint where I want to have this question answered, Mamta, is
Mm, mm.
today most of the skills that we are talking about are becoming obsolete, and every day there is a new way of looking skills, right? Today a coder is looked at a different way when compared to the earlier days. Today he is
Right.
learning a technology that can be learnt in maybe a month's time with
Mm,
focused
mm,
effort. Now, how do
mm.
they identify? That's where I wanted this piece. How do they identify that missing piece? because today what is relevant is not relevant for tomorrow.
Absolutely. Right, right. As you said, the clock is ticking, and I think we already have started with the year of 2025. So, has people planned on what they need to learn? Do they have those things ready? Have they thought about learning? Is a big question. So, if you haven't, we can always start now. We have still got a long duration, but planning is very important. What I need to learn, and what are those which is going to make a huge impact. So, a lot of application. So, I would say the easiest way is self reflection. What is my current role? Where do I have analysis? Am I going with what the requirement of the industry or the market trend is? So understanding industry trends is very important, like job specifications and the expectations of your role and the next role what you're planning to go. Accordingly, we need to plan the learning. Then feedback from your managers, peers, and then people who have been playing your similar roles, you can take the feedback from. And the last one is to map these to the desired roles. For example, we call it as a competency skills mapping. Is it mapping to what I want to do? I don't have it. So how do I plan? So these are called as the analysis and the certain gaps we need to bridge with learning.
Now, when we say bridge the gap or missing piece, how does a balanced skill stack into today's fast changing industry? The industry also is changing, right? So if you
Yes.
look at not one way of looking at technology and its adoption, that adoption is changing across industries also. Healthcare is changing in a
Mm,
different
mm.
way, transport is changing in a different way, manufacturing is changing in a different way. How
Right.
or what does a balanced skill stack look like in today's fast changing industries? Again, I repeat the question.
The most important question, especially how do I choose? How do I decide? On how do I put those skills for my learning curriculum? So I would say, imagine a small bookshelf of 2025, the year. You can imagine there's a bookshelf. So what do I put in this? So each one of them, they can plan. I would like to bring in varieties of things to be stacked here, including books, podcasts, learning, trainings, and so on. It should be a combination of hard skills, what we call as the technical or technological skills, soft skills, which also includes leadership and management. Along with that, it should also have the personal part of it. For example, hobbies and interests. For example, I would say like maybe music, sports, and interest like wellness and meditation and health, because there should be a balance. We are looking at building a personality. So, how do I build a personality so I'll be ready for 2025? So all these should be included. Only then there is a balance. So I cannot just have only one of these or put about 90% to only one of these categories and then neglect probably health or wellness, or I would focus only on the part of leadership. Then I won't be focusing on the AI, cyber security, and so on. So these are need to be well thought and then put those on the stack of 2025. So we can say, this much of percentage I would adopt, I'm going to spend on each of these categories. People can have their own categories, but it should be a holistic. The complete learning part is going to help me build the personality I require in terms of learning to be ready to go ahead and then aim those career ambitions I have. And also, I need to go along with the pace of the fast changing industry. So I always ask people, they can put 10%, 20%, maybe a couple of these. So it should be a combination. For example, today hard skills are so much focused on AI, ML, cybersecurity, data analytics. These are very important. So little part of it people need to learn. Whatever their core domain areas are. And AI, how do I use AI to make my work better? Everybody can use it. Then soft skills like leadership, negotiations, decision making, and creativity. These some of the examples I'm quoting here. So it should be a combination. Then the balance comes in.
You mentioned a very important point here because it is fast catching, right? Now,
Yeah.
Today I want to learn AI with say cyber security. Tomorrow there
Hmm.
is something which says AI with machine learning. Then how do we combine it? Then somebody says in AI there is LLM, so large language module is there. So how do we now? Lot of options, lot of things are there in common, and suddenly what happens? People try to fall into a trap, and what would be that common pitfall professional face when they are starting to build their skill set or skill stack?
I think very nicely you said that there's always something very tempting,
Yeah,
something very rosy, or it looks like a golden opportunity. But do I fit in there for that? Or do
yeah.
I, my role, or my particular organization is looking for it? Does my project really need this? So, a couple of things people really will have to think. Ultimately, they have to look at the outcome or the result, what I get, and is it aligning with their goals and the organization's goals or the role they are being playing. I would say most of the time people miss on this. That is a missing analysis. There's not an enough analysis, self-analysis, analysis by the L&D department, the particular project departments. So all these kind of analysis should be documented. So it's more easier for individuals to align rather than saying, there's not what we required, but I have learned it. I've spent a lot of time because time is money, time is business today. So any amount of time and money and energy I'm spending, it should be related to the goals, individual goals, and definitely, of course, with the organizational goals. What is my particular project is looking for? What is the organization looking for? What is the client or customers are looking for? So ultimately, all these should point towards the outcome and the result. So this is the first thing I would say a common pitfall. What I normally observe, there is not enough analysis at all, nothing documentation to properly align and map for a longer duration up to the completion time. And there is no guidance from mentors and coach. People may feel shy or not to have a coach or a mentor. Having a coach or a mentor is something everybody at all age should have. You can definitely make things easier, smarter, and it would definitely be a path which they will make us or they'll help us and guide us to go in that path towards the goal. And there is always a mismatch or a no competency mapping. This organizations can help individuals, or individually they can help themselves to map the competency, that is a domain expertise. Is it really mapping with the requirements? And assumptions, always, there are so many assumptions like I already know this and there is no need for me to learn, let others learn. This is a big mistake of the leadership and the management many times. Now, so why should I learn? Because what I would say is, when a person who is in the decision making power or a position, so a lot of things has to be learned or they need to know. So knowing and learning is quite important in spite of being in whichever positions we are in. And the last one is people think certifications are enough. There is no need for me to learn. So everything is in the certificate, not with me. So when I learn something, the application is equally important than just having a certificate. A lot of people without certifications can do wonders. They can bring in very big business results and probably very big additions to the organizations. And there is another large pitfall is on the wrong selection. That's selection criteria, which is not correct. Wrong methods to select either the courses or the roles they play, and so on. So this is a mismatch again with the kind of work people do, the way they are, and the kind of work people have been having. So it might really bring in a lot of problem for both the learner, the managers, the leadership, and the client and customers. Yes.
Very nicely put there into three buckets of way of handling things. Now, most of the people think technology skills is very important, and they neglect the common thing, which is more of communication. Can you share a soft skill where it made a bigger impact than a technical skill?
Yeah, that's something very interesting and very apt for every one of us to think. I think yes. Negotiation skills is something which I have really understood how much of impact it makes on us. For example, how in negotiations, where we will be using different styles of communication, there I would say assertiveness, assertive communication really makes a huge difference to bring in a deal or to make a close of any kind of transactions and talks and discussions we have. So, negotiations is a must skill which I have really learned, and that has really made a huge impact on me rather than just having the domain expertise or only the technical aspects of our knowledge and skills.
Okay. So you are saying communication skill or the soft skill in putting up right things at a right place is more important than a technical skill. Technical skills can be gained, is what you are saying. How do you approach learning a completely new skill when, see, most of the time we don't get the resources that we want and the way we want, right? Now, if I have
Right.
to get myself completely into a new skill, how do I approach learning a completely new skill in a high pressure environment? Because lack of
Mm,
resources, projects are still there. I am lacking time and stuff.
right.
And at that time, how do I plan to acquire a new skill? Your thoughts on it?
Yes, that is, I think, the need of the hour, where there is less time, less resources, but we need to really do a lot of things in that high pressure environment that I think most of the people would be normally facing. In Canada, there is a very beautiful saying, that is different kinds of learning, which my mother always used to tell me. That is do and learn. I'm translating it like do and learn, write and learn, see and learn, experience and learn, observe and learn, then probably listen and learn. So these are different techniques which probably we have been using from ancient times. And now, how do I make it applicable? We all can make it applicable because the normal human learning methodologies are these, which we already have in us, all of us. So, only thing is we need to be smart enough just to apply the right approach and a method. I'll just give two examples here, one for behavioral or soft skill as an example, one technical example. What are the different kinds of approaches we can have? I'll be using two in L&D, learning and development technical terms. The first one, I would say problem solving is very commonly in demand. And that's going to be there, I think, in the year 2025, which I'll be talking again. I think we'll be discussing on that. So behavioral skill as an example, the problem solving, the approach would be like break it down and prioritize, a very simple approach. For example, you have a new software tool and you need to learn it very quickly. You don't have much of time and a lot of pressure on you to learn it. So what we can do is we can go back and choose a particular function in that, then put them down into different steps, then start practicing it. The more and more we practice, we make mistakes, we learn, but we do have a continuous learning. And prioritize which is most important in the function or a feature of that. Pick up that first, which is going to immediately give you the result or the outcome which is expected from you. That will be very easy application. Another one, I would give a technical example here. I'm using the approach or a method called as learn by doing. This is called as an immersive learning. I'm going to immerse myself in the situation. We also say like jumping directly into the tasks or projects because I don't have time. It's something like I just jump in and then I learn by experience, where I immerse myself in the scenario or the situation and then I learn. For example, data analysis is an example which we can pick up, which is always the relate to the outcome or the result.
Now, having said that there are different ways of learning, and that is more what we see in our ancient way of looking at is earlier also, if you really look at, we either used to look at some training session, or we used to look at a video and learn. Then we used to refer to some of the books. Now the age of internet, there are a lot of courses that are available on YouTube and other places where you can look and listen. There are podcasts like these who can share a lot of knowledges, and there the avenues are largely open nowadays. Now, keeping that kind of an abundance also, what is a skill you initially ignored but realized was a crucial part for of your success? So anything on that sort, Mamta?
Yes, I think yeah, a lot of learnings have happened, a lot of failures, and then learning from that. And then one skill which I really feel I have ignored, but learned from it is selling and marketing, which always we think it's not does not belong to me, and there is no need for me to do anything on this. But ultimately, we are selling ideas or concepts or products to people around. And this is something a big lesson I learned. I always thought, I'm not a salesperson. I don't like marketing, or, but I thought more and more, especially in the area of learning and development. Every minute, we are thinking feet, and then we are giving a lot of inputs to people. So I thought I need to really learn a little on selling and marketing, even though, but it has really given us very good and fruits. So that's something which I have ignored and I applied later.
So I think, Mamta, you made a very important point, because I was also in the same assumption, saying that
Okay.
selling, marketing, and sales is one thing that is not very important because if you are a technology guy, you don't look at marketing and sales. But over
Right.
the last 1 year or 2 years, what I've seen is, without knowing, you've been doing sales, actually speaking, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
you had, if you are a professional who's looking for services, you've been doing your sales on the services that you are providing. If you are a person who's looking for a job, you are selling what you are as a person, right? And
Absolutely.
what is your strength? Your resume is what is your selling point. And most of the time, I used to talk in large projects, saying that this is how the sales team will look at. But sales team would present what you want to present, right? And how
Hmm.
you want to run a product or a project is entirely the vision of the organization, or a product owner, or a manufacturing person who unit, what they want to sell, what is that it is going to solve, and how is it important for everybody to take. I think that's where the sales and marketing starts. Without knowing, we are doing that. Now, how do we come to know that? Once you misalign, or you are saying, oh, I did not put the right information in my resume, that means you did not put a product value properly, right? So I think that is one thing that we should make. Whether you are directly doing sales or not, you are doing sales of yourself is one thing that I think I've learned in this 1.5 year, more keen, focusing too much on how things are getting settled down, Mamta. Now, with that,
What is your probably which the skill which you would choose to answer this question?
I definitely would say, after doing these podcasts, what I understood is, I have to tell what I am doing in these podcasts, and what I am doing as a
Hmm.
podcast firm, as Power of Knowing Forum. What is that it is going to share? Who are the speakers who are talking about? Who and who are we talking about? Who has come to the podcast? That is that kind of an indirect selling that we are doing, saying that you come and listen to our podcast and see how it is going to happen. Now, Mamta has been today's episode. We are doing it on the second
Hmm.
episode of this year already. This is our second
Right.
episode,
Right.
right? Now, how do I say we have done 192 episodes. Who are the speakers who have we brought in? The business owners. This is part of selling and marketing, right? Now,
Right.
how
Right.
do I sell things? This is how I tell what I am doing as well. Now, taking that, we would have learned a lot of things which may not be required to what we are doing. Have you ever had an unlearned a skill to move forward in your career, and how?
Yes. Especially, I think the technical and the administration parts of the learning which we need to unlearn. For example, we get a new phone and we are not using, no longer we use the features. So we unlearn and then use the new features. So that's been happening especially in all the gadgets we buy. And that's how, we need to, we should be ready to unlearn. Unlearn is the toughest part of the types of learning. It's very difficult to come out what we love to do or what I like to do at perfection. So these coming out of it is very tough. So technical, some of the technical aspects in which we have got used to. So a lot of administration work there is no need for me to do. If I have to grow in my business, for example, I have learned this. There's no need for me to do a couple of administration work or managing the business and so on. So I need to learn to unlearn and then do something. For this, I have used a technique of delegation. For example, technology. Just to make it very simple example, already we have Grammarly, which is going to help us. That's already there, making use of technology. So I need to unlearn to always go back and do it manual. I need to take the help of technology which is available, which is ready. And other things like probably ChatGPT, Calendly, there are so many other help which we can always get. So that's something which I need to do. Another 2 points what I have done is especially delegation for consultants and consulting groups, promoting ads for me, bringing in customers and clients, planning and organizing the business for me, planning and organizing the meetings and so on, where there is no need for me to go back and keep doing the things which are no relevant for my role at the present. So delegation is a simple, very easy, but we need to practice a delegation to unlearn. So now I find it very easy when I have somebody manage quite a few of my business parts. Then I'm able to plan and then grow. That is how I think growth comes in only when I'm able to unlearn quite a few parts of it. Then also look at delegation. That's an additional part.
Now, being all this there, Mamta, you'll get drained out at many times, and the teams working with you also get drained out. Now, there would be high pressure situations where you have to do something, but due to time and other things, you lose a lot of focus, and challenges are inevitable in any part of work that we do. Can you share a time where empathy in leadership transformed your team or business in a high pressured situation?
Yes, empathy, I think, is a very difficult skill to practice because they don't fall under the technical or soft skills. So, because they are more into behavioral and also psychology, that is, understanding humans is a different category of the topics, which these days, they're coming in more and more. I would say empathy is a two-way stream. It cannot be one way. For
Hmm.
example, I would understand a group or a team, or I would be understanding the mid management level. So it should be two way. They are also going to understand what the other party or the group is also going through. So empathy is more on the emotions, the psychology of people. So it requires a different mindset to understand, and there should be a proper training to understand the psychological needs of people, which is going to come in more and more in the year 2025, because we've already looked at two categories, that is hard skills and soft skills and behavioral skills. So more, I would say a theory or a model where we need to apply. There are a lot of psychology related aspects would definitely come in, and empathy is very difficult to practice. What we have done is, many times there is a problem with the project is going on red. So we have always been approached by the project teams to talk and then, motivate them, help them to build the morale, and then help them to come up with different solutions, especially problem solving is again coming here. So we need to talk to people, understand what they're going through, understand their concerns, acknowledge their feelings. They'll have a lot of frustrations and they have a lot of different challenges they're going through. Offer support, whatever they require in terms of both in terms of, I would say, learnings and technical support and anything they require, sources, learnings, and so on. This is where we could rebuild the trust and rebuild the motivation so that they could go ahead and complete those projects. So, as you said, empathy is always been again another neglected skill. I think I would add empathy as well because that requires a lot of maturity and understanding and experience as well. So it needs to be wise to bring in empathy. People need to be wise. I like to use that word of wise.
No, people see, your point is very valid when we talk about how things shape up, Mamta. So, uh, you're truly saying that empathy. See, empathy today is become scarce in many places, right? Even at a traffic junction, people are not empathetic. People think they have to go fast, they have to move out,
Right.
they have to. So, empathy at places of urgency is always a challenge, right? And that pressurized situations bring in lot of challenges which needs to be what you say, you have to be balanced in terms of how you talk, not losing your cool, because there your pressurized situation is not the same for the other person who's sitting next to you or his way of working, right? He may think I didn't do a mistake, but you, when you're facing a customer or anybody else, that pressure situation is different. So you'll have a different mindset in handling things, but the guy who's doing that may not understand that. So there are a lot of
Right.
things that empathy and the maturity plays a role there. Now, coming into that piece, how do you navigate building your skill stack when time and resources are very limited? We spoke about this on a very short thing. Can you elaborate on this much more to in detail, Mamta?
First, I would like to say there are two aspects if we can look at. One is we need to focus on mastering the fundamentals first, the basics
Hmm.
should be extremely correct. Then only we can go because we are talking about stacking the skills for 2025. So if I have to stack the initial, the foundation should be right. For example, the
Yeah.
domain areas, the subject matter experts or expertise in a particular subject or our own domain area should be very, very strong. Then only I can build something on that. So fundamentals, I can even spend a little more time and then get them correct. So I can stack further with whatever is required. Then it becomes easier for me to mount on it. Otherwise, it becomes weak. I can't have a weak foundation in my own areas and my own areas of work that we need to be masters. Then building or adding would definitely become easier.
You're right in many aspects, right? So, what happens is there would be no structure that comes in when we look at uh, there would be always something that is getting missed, right? Again, I am coming back to the old question where with the fast pace there are a lot of things in the industry and stuff changing. If you could pass only three skills to the next generation of leaders, what would be they what would be them?
I think this is the most interesting question for us to take us further in this year. The three skills, I would like to pick one of the research that has happened, that is Global Skills Trends report of 2025 and World Economic Forum's report. They do a report every year, and that report is called the Future of Jobs report, which
Hmm.
helps to map the jobs and the skills of the future. This is a very interesting research, and I would like to quote some of the very important learning for all of us for this year. This particular report says that 50% of the employees will have to get reskilled by the end
Hmm.
of the year. That means there is so much of demand for people to learn, and since we have adopted technology so much in such a brisk and fast pace, So then definitely people have to reskill. So that is 50% of the employees. When I say employees, it doesn't cater to one particular level. It is across all levels, from the top to the bottom. So everybody, every individual who is an employee will have to learn. At least about 50%. In the fast pace, the learning has to happen. And this year, the 2025, I would say the thinking is the theme. So thinking would be the major resource. As the research says, there would be a lot of demand on critical thinking, analytical thinking, creative thinking, and problem solving. Why? Because we are adopting technology. So we would also have more and more people to come up with solutions, creative ways to actually come up with solutions. Additional to this, decision making and innovation would top the list of these skills. So everything would be related to thinking. This had not happened earlier. That's something very amazing and very different for all of us. And I would say, adding to this, there is something very different that has happened, Prem. The emerging skills are very different. This were not the emerging skills for so many years. Now, you can think of what's going to be in 2025. If you can guess, we can't. What they are is self management is on the top. They're going to be the emerging trends of learning. Then, active learning, uh, where everybody has to be very active in learning. Otherwise, we lose out. Resilience, stress tolerance, and flexibility. Something very different. So everything is moving a little away from the very traditional way of looking at hard skills and soft skills and behavioral skills. Now it's going to be more of behavioral sciences that's coming in, psychological sciences that are coming in. So it's going to be a little different. There is another one when I say about the top level learnings would be on leadership and social influence. The report says this is going to be major one. Earlier, we had a subject of sociology, social sciences, which people thought, oh, it's a waste subject, so don't pick it up, don't learn. So everything will be based on the social behaviors of people, how it's impacting, how is it going to influence the market, how it's going to influence the way people buy, the people they learn, and the demand in the market would be exactly how people are. So social sciences is again going to take the top priority in learning with along with leadership. So all leaders may have to learn more on the social skills. I would say the people skills.
Yeah,
And in
absolutely.
terms of
Yeah,
the
good.
technology and AI literacy, I think I'm sorry I added that. Technology and AI literacy again will go hand in hand with these.
Your points are very valid. Now, what is happening again is people try to get a skill developed. Afterwards, what happens is they don't look at enhancing it. Uh, now, programming is one thing. They would have learned in the traditional way of doing programming, but how are the methods changed? What are the tools that have changed in programming? What is that has changed? They would not have the latest updation. Now, how do you see or how do you foster a culture where a continuous learning in your team or organization is always there on the skills that they are employed for? And how do you make sure they keep themselves updated in a continuous learning way?
Okay, that's a very beautiful way to prepare myself to learn the year to come. I would like to point towards one particular research data. That is the Forbes magazine quotes this. That is Statista analysis. It's a survey which has been conducted in about 800 global companies, where I could say about 11.3 million people took part in this particular survey. And this is how the requirement of the skills have come up. Uh, for us to be ready uh, to handle the challenges, the difficulties, and the to meet those requirements, we need to have a proper structural approach to learning. That is, I would say, a learning academy. Just one
Mm.
example, learning academy, where a learning framework and design needs to be properly prepared. And L&D would always take care of this, but in a much more meticulous and a structured manner, where the mapping of the skills should happen with the employees based on their areas of work, the roles they play, and the levels they are in, the position they are in, the kind of work they do. So that needs to be mapped in a very proper, serious, structured manner. So I would always go the learning framework and designing would definitely help for people to bring in a culture of continuous learning in the organizations. So always there is nothing we lose out learning something. That's always going to give us benefits.
No, you are saying a very important point where we miss out, because that help or the support you also mentioned in the earlier questions about how you need a mentor, a guide, and stuff like that, right? Now,
Correct.
what is one trend, again, because it is a very fast changing pace of adoption of technology and skill, what
True.
one trend in skill building you think will disrupt industries in the next 5 years?
Okay, that's nice to know. Definitely, we are going to have a disruption because the generational changes we are going to see in the organization in the year 2025. So we'll have a new generation that would start working, and they will be more in number in the next 5 years. So I would like to quote, based on this, the kind of generations who are going to come in and work, based on the research. The next coming up leadership, especially I would like to call it as a modern leadership, would only sustain with the ability to learn, unlearn, and relearn. So they need to have this. So that is how the trend would be, because the coming generations are like that. They would either make us learn, unlearn, or relearn. They are so fast and they're very quick. And the trend we need to gather and we need to be ready now. So unless we pull up our socks and be ready for these, then it's going to become tough for us. So I would like to call this concept, we already have this concept called as a learning agility. So this
Hmm.
the next 5 years, the trend is a learning agility. Only people who are able to go with this learning agility trend are going to be the survivors. So I would call it as a learning agility trend. And very two interesting points come in here. That is curiosity and agile learning, they go hand in hand. The people who are curious, especially the managers, the leaders, or the leading uh, market leaders, all these people should be very quick and they need to be agile. The business should be very agile and responding very quickly to the external and the internal circumstances and situations. They all are going to be very fast. So people have to really have this. So leaders need to be like this, especially the way they look at what is changing, what is happening in the internal and the external circumstances or situations. That is how the entire market and the business would run. I would say there is something called as a superpower. This superpower is going to manifest the next couple of years, maybe 3 to 5 years. What is this particular superpower? The superpower is called as a mindset. So mindset is going to rule the markets, and the mindset is the trend. We've already seen two trends in terms of mindset. We've already seen one was a fixed mindset. Okay, somebody gives a particular task or an activity, and then people would do it. That's over. You're fixed to only do a certain amount of work, to learn only one particular thing, what is needed, that is gone, and then we have moved to the growth mindset. So far we were into the growth mindset. Now there is going to be a very rapid change, and it's going to happen very quickly, what is called as a flexible mindset. That's a new trend that's coming in. So how flexible we are to the changes, the generations are changing, our employees are changing, the requirement and the buying capacities of people are changing. Once we have a new generations coming in, they are going to be our customers as well. They are going to be the new customers, the young customers. We'll have more of younger customers coming in. So, a very beautiful, I would say, a movement in terms of mindset is going to happen from the fixed to the growth. And now we are going to see the flexible mindset is very nice. It's going to be very fresh, very creative, very innovative. And there's a lot of new things and nice things are going to happen. But the only thing is we need to have agile leaders who are going to bring agile learning into the business.
Your points are very valid in many pointers. I agree for most of them. And what is the biggest career myth you have seen professionals believe that about skill building itself, because people think it can be done or it cannot be done. Any myths around that you think that should be watched around, Mamta?
The couple one myth I would say is I need to master every skill before I advance into the career. I need to know everything. Otherwise, I can't grow. That's not the reality. The reality of career growth, I would say, is a core competency. We need to be extremely good in the kind of work what I have been doing. Probably, you should be so good that like you need to build upon it. So, experience is another component which comes in, is going to help us grow. Then the wisdom from all this learnings of our journey and the adaptability, willingness to learn on the job. All this would definitely make us help to grow. So, am I ready? Am I adaptable to learn new things? Is something there is no need for me to master everything. Is it relevant to my areas of work, my position, my business, which I am into? Is the industry requiring this? I mean, whatever I am doing, is it going to give me the required results and the outcome? Results and the outcome is extremely important. Otherwise, it's a waste of time, energy, and the resources. So, what are the values I'm going to bring in? And what values I'm going to add? Can I bring in these? Are these two questions people need to ask before they advance?
I think,
And also, they need to embrace that learning is a lifelong journey. There is no end to
yeah,
learning, there is no end.
yeah, you're right. Now, what I feel with all the discussions that we are having today on the skills and stuff, I think there should be a set framework that has to be built, or is there something that has to be fixed? What is one framework or method you use to decide which skill would be the most desirable or prioritized for the next? Is there a framework, first of all?
Yes, to navigate, to build this skill stack in a much more easier and simpler manner, we should use a framework or a method. It's much more easier. So I would know these are the things I need to do in this year. So these months, a quarterly plan or a monthly plan, I need to set for the entire year because I can't do everything. So this requires a proper plan or a method. So once we use a framework or a method, it becomes easier. Otherwise, I'm so much overwhelmed. I need to do so many things. There's so much of pressure for me to learn so many things. So how do I do it? Uh, there is a very interesting framework. I would like to call it as a ICE framework, ICE. Very easy to apply, so everybody can remember this. ICE framework: I for impact, C for confidence, and E for ease. The first one is I, impact. Whatever I am going to learn, is it going to impact my career goals and the current role? For example, I am going to learn decision making. Can I bring in a huge impact onto the organization's requirement? Or can I bring in the expected outcome from this? Is it matching the goals or not? So these are the quite a few questions. So similarly, please pick one of them. One example I gave is decision making. What kind of an impact it's going to make on the outcome? Number C is the confidence. So, do I have that confidence that I can learn in this particular time by using the allocated resources or the resources I have? For example, data analytics. I want to learn this. So, can I produce tangible results? Am I confident on this? Confidence is a second component here, which we are using as a framework. The third one is E is ease. Is it easy? Wherever we always say it is user friendly and it should be easy for a person who would do this. So, is it feasible for me to acquire this skill? Is it easy or is it so difficult that I have to give up in between? So I need to check all this. It should be easy for you to learn and then apply them. Only when all these three, that the ICE framework gets completed, I can pick up the skill and then start using the ICE framework or the method. I hope this will be very easy for us to apply. I'm not able to hear Prem.
Oh, sorry. I have put it on the scroll ICE framework, which is right as what you explained. Impact, confidence, and ease. Right.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah.
scroll
Thank you
I
so
brought in.
much.
Yeah. Thank you for that. So this is one thing that I think you should be concentrating. Thank you for that, Mamta. Can you give an example where a skill that was uniquely positioned for entrepreneurs today?
Yes. I think now we are being called Bangalore as being the major hub for entrepreneurs, and
Hmm.
all youngsters are coming in. So there'll be a lot of beautiful and innovative and creative things that are going to come up in the next 3 years. So first thing, what they can focus is on experience or a domain expertise again, the kind of business they want to come up with. And a lot of courses today, especially MBA, which is focusing on entrepreneurship with a case study analysis and projects. That means they need to have a business idea. Then they are going to entirely study on building that particular idea, business idea, into a real business. So that's very ideal for the young entrepreneurs who want to take it up, where there would be a very structured form in which they learn and they can apply them. Apart from this, the executive learnings I would suggest people to follow is on the business studies. Administration is a key for any entrepreneur. So you know you're going to admin and you need to be quite good. You can put a lot of people there, but you need to know the basics of administration because that's the major operations and the functions of the business. And financial management, very, very important with budgeting and finance is very important. Financial operations management, I would say, is a very important learning to happen. Again, selling, marketing, again, I would bring in the core with a lot of case studies and projects and internships. People management is the key, and communication skills is the key, where all these would definitely comes down to how do you communicate to people. So how would you talk about your business to people? So ultimately it is on how well you can speak and write. Speaking and writing are the major ingredients to become a good entrepreneur. So language skills again would be a part, and then vendor management. So all these are the mixed kind of learnings that they can have to become an entrepreneur. A combination of all this, the different ways. You know, they can have podcasts, they can go to the MBA and learn, then they can take up courses online, and so many ways. Would you like to add to this, Train?
No, I'm in line with you because what I feel from my per se itself is uh, today the curriculums in the schools and colleges have changed drastically. Actually speaking, right? Earlier, if you go to the ancient times of learning, we've heard about saying that everything was a kind of a package where you used to have a person do everything, where we did not have job as a thing at that time. There it was more about how you will run your life, how do you balance your family, balance your finances, balance your agriculture, different way of, because primarily India was more of agriculture. Now that has changed to a workforce culture now, right? And we've lost touch with that entrepreneurial stuff that we have been now. Last 5 6 years or 10 years is what we've seen more of entrepreneurs coming and saying that they are starting their business, they are looking at this one. These skills I think have become very very important, as you said. One is people management, the other is the financial management, which I think we were the best to manage finances
Absolutely.
across the globe. India was, you have the best finance people in India is what I understand, right? Now that is not what is being taught in today's education. That has changed drastically. I think for me at least, I didn't learn what is financial management or anything. I had a technical stream selected. I was nowhere thought about financial management. Now the schools and the
Yes.
colleges have started to look at bringing those things, is what I feel, as you rightly said. people management, empathy, communication, financial management, operations management, vendor management. These are skills I think very very important now. This has become more of a balanced piece where these high value or high level people have to manage in their roles. Now coming into that piece, what is one last question that I have in mind is, what is one piece of feedback or advice that completely shifted how you think about skills?
There are two ways in which we learn or we work. One is we start learning in depth. That is what happens when people start working. That is, deeper and deeper we go, and that's okay for the initial couple of years, maybe 3 years and 5 years. When we take an IT industry as an example here, that would definitely suffice for 1.5 to 2 years, maximum 3 years. But people will have to look at the breadth of learning. The depth is fine, but if you want to grow higher and higher, I definitely, this is something from my own experience, that is a depth. Fine, you're going to become an expert. You have learned the very basic fundamental things, but later on it has to be breadth, because you're going to look at how a business runs, how the industry runs, then what kind of things I need to learn to start managing or leading further. So this is entirely a different approach. Sorry. For example, an engineer with technical skills can add communication and project management and negotiation.
Namta,
Sorry.
okay? Are you
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah. Continuing that, maybe I would like to add is like what I've learned is collaboration, the fight between collaboration, competition, and compromising. To
Hmm.
understand what collaboration is, I think every one of us, we need to go through competition and compromising. And collaboration is the toughest, which I have learned to do that after a very long time in my journey. That's very difficult to practice, but collaboration is a very beautiful way of operations and managing.
I think you summarized it very well. I would like to, with this, I would like to take, I've taken few notes and I would like to summarize what we discussed overall in this podcast about, is what we spoke about is more about what skills would be required for us to look at in 2025. We are not putting a 5 year plan, we are putting a plan for 1 year at least, where you start with the 5 year journey will start there from there on, right? So the first point that
Sure.
I would like to look at is what we spoke today was skill stack development and a strategy around it, and what ways you can look at how do you balance things, and what are the changes that happen in the trajectory of doing things. Then we spoke about real life applications and lessons on what way it can impact when you have a skill. How do you learn it when a high pressure environment is there? How, one crucial skill that you realize that was required, and how do you manage that kind of a piece. Then we spoke about inspiration and thought leadership, how leadership should be taken into consideration, what are the few things the organization and the team should learn. Skill building and how disruptive the industries can change in the next 5 years is what we spoke about. Then we spoke about engagement and problem solving skills, which is very very important in today's business world, because without engagement with the team and the organization you cannot have problem solved. And everybody who's looking today as a service or a piece of work that they want to associate is looking for what are you giving which can solve a problem for them. So that's what we discussed overall. uh, Great insights, Mamta. I think we've set a pace for how the skills should be looked at in the coming year. Next 364 days, we are already past 363 days. If you really look at, out of 365, we have done with 2 days, and rest how it looks. And Mamta has put her perspectives in terms of what can be looked out and how it can be looked out. We would like to thank Mamta for being part of this session today, and we have streamed this from a tool which LinkedIn has suggested to LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. Hope this discussion has been valuable, and thanks for joining us, Mamta, and the audience. Thank you
Thank
for
you so
joining us.
much.
And our next episode would be 194th episode. That would be on the 193rd episode. Sorry, 193rd episode. That would be on the ripple effect on cyber security attacks that happened in 2024. We are protecting the industry and the society. How what happened, and how it happened, and how did we protect the industry and society is what we will be talking on the 7th of Jan at 6:30 p.m. IST with that topic. Looking forward to see you. Good day and bye for now, Mamta. Thank you for being here, and
Thank you
it was
so
great
much.
talking to you. Thank you.
Thanks a lot for hosting me. Thank you so much. It was a wonderful beginning for me as well. And happy learning to everyone.
Thank you, Mamta.
Thank you.